Good morning and welcome. This is the last day of the third month of 2026. Good morning and a warm welcome. This is the great KBC. We have time for news check-in. For the next an hour or so, we'll be talking about women leadership in both politics and the corporate world. And on the second hour, we'll be talking about making healthier food choices. Now, allow me to just go back a couple of years. The Chief Justice, back then, Chief Justice Emeritus David Kenani Maraga did say that indeed even the Parliament, our National Assembly, had not been fully constituted, as in the two-thirds gender rule. But let's just be honest, women have come a long way to fight for their space, and I use that word deliberately, fight for their places. We have the first woman CJ since independence, CJ Martha Koome, who was appointed in the year 2021. And right here in KBC, we have the first woman managing director, Agnes Kaleche Nguna, who was appointed in the year 2024. But we are talking about over 60 years since independence. We have even affirmative action. We have women rep. All those affirmative actions just to try and bridge the gap and the gender parity. That is what we'll be discussing this morning, and we would love to hear your input via our social media platforms as we are also live. And before we delve into that conversation, remember the continuous mass voter registration is currently ongoing. IEBC targeting 2.5 million new voters by the end of next month. But at the end of the whole exercise, they're targeting about 6.5 million new voters. But you can also, it's also a chance for you to just look at your voter's card and ensure that indeed you are a registered voter if you had already registered. We are also following up on parliamentary committees. There is a Gekomba demolition. Kevin Washira is on the parliamentary bit. And then the Education CS Migos Ogamba is at the Technical University of Kenya for the graduation. My colleague Joseph Wahungu is currently on that bit. Now, to the topic of discussion, allow me to rope in my guests who have already gotten into studio, beginning from my immediate right, where we have Quinta Mbori. Quinta is the Executive Director, Association of Women Media in Kenya, that is AMWIK. Karibu sana, Quinta.
Asante.
Just next to Quinta, we have Brian Olang. Brian Olang is an advocate of the High Court and also a human rights lawyer. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, karibuni sana. First things first, Quinta, being in the media space, and I say I'm proud that for the first time KBC since its inception before independence, we have a woman managing director. And to be very fair, even a lot of my camera persons are ladies, and also my director up there, Jackie Wasolo, is also a lady. So I feel this conversation is very timely. Yeah. My editors are also a number female. But looking at the media space, yeah, are women jostling for the positions the same way as men are?
Thank you very much, Ben, and thank you for having us this morning. I'm glad that KBC is leading from the front in terms of empowering women to take up positions, including taking up roles in technical positions such as production. And I'm actually very happy that we have the boss of KBC, Agnes Kaleche, my very good friend, mm-hmm, and former colleague, mm-hmm, at the helm of KBC. It is a step in the right direction. Previously, we had Marion at the Standard Group, and a few years back, we even had editorial leadership, mm-hmm, being taken up by Pamela Sitoni at The Nation. Yeah. Unfortunately, those are very few women at the top, considering, yeah, the over 600 registered media broadcast organizations we have in this country. Mm-hmm. Statistics say that it's about 2% of women in media leadership. So in as much as we have women really stepping up, mm-hmm, we even have the president of the Kenya Editors Guild being Zubeida Koome, also, mm-hmm, a very good friend. We have CEO of KEG being Linda Batch. We have seen a lot of progress over the years, but you see, data tells a different story, and numbers don't lie. And so what we're advocating for is we need a more balanced representation, especially not just in the media industry, but in this country. That is why every day we sleep, dream, think, talk two-thirds gender principle, because all we want is a balanced perspective. We are not asking for tokenism. We're just asking for women to take up the positions. Qualified women actually do exist. The other thing that media organizations can do is actually to create an enabling environment for women to take up these roles through offering training opportunities and also gender transformative policies that can actually elevate women to take up leadership roles. So yes, we are moving in the right direction, but bado tuko nyuma.
Yeah, we still have a lot of steps to take. We still have a lot
of work, yes.
And it's also good to notice and also acknowledge that the head of radio programs also here at the KBC is a lady by the name of Mary Daraja. So we also, on the radio front, we are also actually setting the standards. But Wakili, I'm looking at the legal perspective. You do remember, you're an officer of the court, and you do remember what the CJ said in regards to the two-thirds gender rule. Even our parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly, they cannot even marshal numbers, the two-thirds gender rule. And actually, his advisory was that we should, you know, rethink and maybe go back to the ballot. And I'm looking at when it comes to the legal aspect, where from a legal perspective, where the current framework for protecting women in high stakes role, both in boardroom and also the ballot, keeping paces with these new trends. Because as we have seen, even the head of state, allow me just to correct him, the president did say that as soon as he gets into office, his cabinet will be 50-50. That has not been attained yet. Even when away from the cabinet, even the PSs themselves, now 50-50.
I think, you see, there's general, what I would call general acceptance of women in leadership. But in reality, I mean, when you wanasema vitu kwa ground is different. You know, you find that majority of the CSs are still males, PSs are still males. Almost all his appointments does not meet the two-thirds gender rule. As the Constitution envisions. So I think as a country we still have a long way to go. You remember even Maraga giving an advisory that Parliament should be disbanded then because it did not meet the 2000 gender rule. But that of course did not happen. So we still have a long way as a country to go, because I will not blame the legal framework, because ideally the Constitution is right. It says clearly and gives an outline on how this should be achieved. But now the problem comes to implementation of these issues. So I think it's a deliberate decision, in my opinion, among our leaders to ensure that women are not empowered, to ensure that women are actually not involved in these leadership positions. So you find that even statistically, looking at the report, that I mean, 70%, there's 75% or more than 70% acceptance of women. But in reality, you find that only 23% of women are elected or even appointed in this position. So I think as a country, we still have a long way to go to move from this perception that ideally we accept women, but in reality, as they say, vitu kwa ground different. Yes.
And Quinta, allow me to use this word, the soft portfolios, in a very serious way. I'm looking at the bias, the lingering bias that women are more suited. I'm looking at cabinet, more suited for soft portfolios. We're talking about the gender docket, education docket. We're also looking at, but we've never heard about a finance cabinet secretary, transport and infrastructure. Those very, very serious portfolios. So when even women are given these opportunities, sometimes there's that bias that they're given what a lot would say soft portfolios.
A true story, and this largely emanates from what I would call our societal stereotypes and our patriarchal attitudes, and what is also commonly known as gender roles, that women are associated with certain responsibilities that society and community have allocated to them. For example, if you look at the perception index that was recently released, when it comes to childcare, okay, that is where we see there is less perception. People still believe that women should engage in childcare, all right? When it comes to responsibilities such as nursing, people still believe that majority of people in society believe that nurses should entirely be women. When it comes to
even secretaries
and you know, people who are in charge of the areas that are aligned with our gender, you know. So I'm not surprised that even when it comes to the cabinet positions and cabinet secretary roles, we tend to put aside certain responsibilities for women. But if I can just, there's a popular quote that I like to use, Ben, that some leaders are actually born women, okay? And so it doesn't matter. I think ultimately what we should be calling, what we should be advocating for is for leaders who uphold the rule of law in this country, leaders who perform and deliver to the citizens, and leaders who are able to deliver results to Kenyans, and not necessarily aligned to whether the agenda should not come in the picture, if you ask me. In fact, if you look at, there are numerous studies that point out to the fact that organizations, countries, states that are women-led actually perform better, okay? And this is because of the fact that women are blessed with perhaps something that men do not have. We have foresight, we have emotions, okay? Even though sometimes the emotions is perceived as a bad thing, but it's actually, people who lead with emotions lead extremely well because they're able to foresee, they're able to offer solutions to problems that affect people directly. During the COVID-19 pandemic, for instance, if you look at Scandinavian countries, majority of them are led by women. They did exceptionally well in terms of managing the crisis, okay? So women have certain leadership qualities that men might not have, and that is not to diminish or disqualify leadership qualities of men, okay? But because of societal values and perceptions, what is happening now is women tend to be, they tend to be pushed aside. And what we're advocating for, one, is, you know, when you look at the role of women, for example, a corporate woman, the moment you're done with calling shots and attending board meetings, you still have to go back home and put on another cap, which is perhaps to be a mother and to be a wife. All this calls for a lot of energy and a lot of expertise, okay? Unfortunately, when you look at the leadership environment, not just in the political structure, but also in the corporate world, the environment does not favor women in terms of just coming up with policies that can support women. Sometimes you have women, you know, stepping aside to go for maternity, you know, responsibilities. We have women stepping aside to do this or that. But the policies that exist do not support those kind of responsibilities. And therefore, you will hear people saying that, you know, if a woman is given a responsibility of being a CEO, then they'll probably have to step away for a couple of months to go and take care of other things, and therefore the company tends to lag behind, which is a complete misinformation. Okay,
just a minute. My director, Jackie Wasolo, informs me that we need to cross over to Kwale County. You do remember yesterday that was the launch, the official launch place for the continuous mass voter registration. Abdiaziz Hashim is currently on standby from the great county of Kwale to give us an update on how the exercise has truly been. Abdiaziz, I can see you on screen. Thank you so much for joining us. What more can you tell us in regards to that exercise?
Well, indeed, Ben Troy Jua, we're coming to you live from Kwale County. Today is day 2 of the enhanced continuous voter registration that started yesterday in a small village called Shimoni here in Kwale County, where the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, launched that particular exercise, targeting in this 30-day period 2.5 million new voters to be registered. And at the end of the day, ahead of the 2027 general election, they are seeking to at least register 6.5 million new voters to ensure that the register has reached 28.5 million so that they can participate in the next polls to elect their members of the county assembly, members of parliament, senators, governors, and even the head of state come 2027. Now, of note yesterday and what is happening today is that in Kwale, just over 2,000 people registered so far since the new commission led by Erastus Ethekon Edung started this particular process of the continuous voter registration. Now, given that it is now enhanced after the launch of yesterday, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission IBC clerks assigned to the various constituencies and even the wards themselves, which even the commission clearly stated was the aim of this particular continuous voter registration exercise, so that they can go door to door to ensure that they register more people. In Kwale County, slightly over 330,000 people were registered in this particular devolved unit, with the county election director and management, county election management of IBC in this particular devolved unit seeking to at least ensure that that figure rises to even 350,000 in the next coming polls. And also, which is very critical, that the IBC has ensured that there more than 3 KIMS kits in different wards, open and closed. The difference is, with the open KIMS kit, even somebody who cannot vote here in Kwale County with that open KIMS kit can register here and, of course, choose the destination they want to vote in come 2027. The closed one is serving the people around this particular devolved unit, where they will vote either in Sambweni, Lunga. That is the difference between the two. And if you heard yesterday from the IBC, if you want to transfer your vote from, let's say, for example, Kwale to Mombasa, you have to avail yourself before the registration office in Mombasa so that they can see you, to prevent what was happening in yesteryears, where IBC officials were saying politicians using their murky ways to ensure that they transfer more votes in their areas, either constituencies or their devolved units, to ensure that they garner more votes. Right now, they have secured that particular region. Slightly over 2,000 people have registered so far here in Kwale County. The target is to ensure that that vote register of Kwale County at least extends to 330,000. We're also keeping tabs on a number of some of these centers, given that there are over 30,000 centers that have been designated across the country. IBC was clearly stating that if you do not want to visit those 30 centers that have been designated, you can visit the 57 Huduma centers across the country. The other issue that the people of Kwale raised is about identification card. You know, like the people of Wapemba, for example, in Shimoni, where we were, it will be their first time to be participating in that particular general election come 2027. And they were saying that accessing those ID cards. That's why the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, IBC, was stating that they will talk to the National Bureau of Registration to ensure that that particular process is hastened. But interestingly, the DCC of this particular region clearly talked yesterday and said that there are over 1,000 uncollected IDs in that particular area. So what the DCC clearly stated in his speech yesterday, they will be availing some of these IDs in those particular centers. Even they have urged the residents to visit the chief's office to ensure that they collect their identification card, because without the identification card or a valid passport, you cannot exercise your right come 2027. Baintro Njoe, back to you.
Thank you, Abdiaziz Hashim, there live from Shimoni, Kwale County, where IEBC is on its second day of the continuous mass voter registration, with the target, as I mentioned earlier on, of about 6.5 after the whole exercise is done. And the young people being urged, Niko Kadi, yes, go pick your card as well. Thank you so much indeed, Abdi, for that report. Of course, our other colleagues are in various counties and will be giving us a brief on how that exercise is going on. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check, and we are looking at the issue of women leadership in politics and also corporate. And now we are also joined by our third panelist and guest, who is Honorable Catherine Omanyo.
Yes.
A big name. She's not only the MP for Busia County, or the county woman representative, she's also the ODM SecGen.
SG.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
I don't know where we begin, whether the women or the ODM side. But as you recollect your thoughts, allow me to just ask Wakili. You do remember what the CJ had talked about in regards to, you know, Parliament is not well constituted, two-thirds gender rule. We have to have affirmative action seats, you know. what legal remedy can we have? Because looking at the numbers, and Mheshimiwa here will concur, that the numbers of women in Parliament and the Senate is too little.
Yes. I think there is no, the only cure to bad manners, I would say, is, I mean, let's just disband Parliament. Let's go back to the thinking board so that we have more Mheshimiwa here. I mean, she's proven that women can actually lead. So if we continue, I mean, with this kind of notion, because you remember, Maraga initially advised Uhuru Kenyatta to disband Parliament. That did not happen. We have the same thing happening now, where we have not met the constitutional requirement. That is the two-thirds gender rule. And you know, this will never be achieved if we continue, you know, making promises and actually not, I mean, implementing this. Because the constitution is very clear. If Parliament does not meet the two-thirds gender rule, what is the recourse? The recourse is only one: you disband. Because now we're in a position where we have only 23% of elected leaders, or rather both elected and appointed, are in Parliament. And Mheshimiwa here is ideally, women are the minority in Parliament. And even if you look at demographics, I think women are more in the country. So you cannot have a Parliament where, let me say 78% is made up of the minority, ideally, if you look at the population of Kenya. And now women only make a small percentage of this. So the only recourse for William Ruto, and I think if he was actually genuine about this issue of two-thirds gender rule, and I think the SG now, since you're in broad-based government, maybe you can seek audience with him. Number one, he promised, I believe, 50% of his cabinet would be women. That has not been achieved. You see this in his appointments of CEOs, where it's just majority of men. I rarely see women in this. You see this in appointment of PSs. So even if he wants to achieve this, even minus even those who are elected, can we do this even in appointing positions? Because you see, you find that our government, or the executive rather, is just making promises, but ideally there is no, what I would say, there is no goodwill in terms of ensuring that we actually meet the two-thirds gender rule. And there's something actually she mentioned about, which maybe, if I may also chime in, the issue of, I mean, these sectoral biases in terms of which kind of work only women are meant to do. You know, if you want to achieve the so-called Singapore dream, this cannot be achieved where there are still biases in certain areas. So you find that a woman, for instance, I'll feel very uncomfortable with a woman engineer, right? But I'll feel very comfortable if she's taking care of my children. So if you have a huge percentage of women who are qualified, who are still, I mean, discriminated because, I mean, because they just wear a skirt. That's the only reason. Because if you talk about mentally, we are very much equal. But because they're wearing a skirt, I feel very uncomfortable with a woman engineer and a woman architect. So for us to achieve even the Singapore dream that the president is want us to achieve, even in his appointments, even those people who are taking up his affordable housing jobs, can even see this this actually achieved through these appointments? Can you give more women opportunities in these sectors? Because we have women architects. Can you give them opportunities at least there? We have women who actually who can be, I mean, builders as well. So can we see women there? So that is what I think we should actually do as a country to achieve this.
Mheshimiwa, you've heard the sentiments of Wakili here, and let's even begin with ODM leadership itself. If we look from the top to the youth league, most are men. Now you are the SG of ODM. What are you going to do to address this gender parity?
I've really liked Wakili, and I would pray that he keeps saying that, that some badly cultured men would be comfortable to see a woman take care of their children and not being Engineer Elizabeth Rogo, you know, Engineer Catherine. That is so true. And we must change. Actually, how can you say that you want to get Singapore dream, yet you leave half the talent out? Women are so skilled, and the ability they have, if women are put in every docket, the country will grow at a speed you will never know. It is not about two-thirds gender rule or a third of it or some numbers of women to be seen. It is not about that. It is what a woman in that room brings on board. When a woman is in the room, there are changes a lot. They think further. You will hear even my grandmother would say, my great-grandchildren must find this when my grandfather was trying to build. So I'm like, she's saying something. Don't just build, but build something that our grandchildren will find standing. So many times women are seen as belonging to some special interest group. For how long? How can we be on that side, yet we make the majority? In fact, we are 52% in the Kenyan population. It is a high time all the leaders in Africa took this serious, tag along women, because it's not just a Kenyan issue. It is an African opportunity to come up and frame out well that, look here, these are our daughters, but yes, when it comes to boardroom, they are equal. And they should not be seen, whenever a woman is appointed, it should not be seen as a privilege. It's our right. So I'm so happy that this topic is happening now, because just recently when I got elevated, I got bashed.
Yes.
And I realized that there are so many undercurrents that create barriers for any woman to even come up. If I wasn't built, like I have some very thick skin, actually I was going to wake up the next day and just resign. But I said, for what? For I've already been called all these names, threatened to be raped. In fact, they said na chupa, you know, like the way it was framed. I was like, what is going on?
And just days after you are elevated.
Yes, but there's a very tough girl that I really want to appreciate. Gladys Wanga. She's a no-nonsense. When I rushed to her and started whining, she told me, I have been here for many years. I've been bashed beyond what you can imagine, but I'm here. So just ignore. Then Esther Passaris one time at 2 a.m. I don't know how she knew that I was still awake. She called me 2 a.m. and she told me, switch off that phone. Just go to delete all, delete all, delete all. Don't read any messages. Because that's a way of pushing down, pushing out, pulling a woman down, or intimidating a woman. Actually, I had buried my face in the pillow, weeping. So she told me that, and I just prayed and I slept. So there are so many barriers that are created, impediments. It's like limited access to women. It's in the system, culture, and many other things that by the time a woman really makes it, what she has gone through is a stretch you wouldn't even want to see your daughter also experience.
And Mheshimiwa, should we really be having women in parliament having to have a thick skin? Because other than what you have gone through in the last couple of weeks and months, we have had issues of sexist behavior in parliament. We've even had accusations from some of the male members of parliament. Why should women in Kenya be developing thick skin? And we also have the law that is there. We also have the structures that are there. Because I'm quite sure if it was a man who was elevated to the SG of ODM, would not have received the same backlash as you have.
It could have looked normal. But a woman, and one who was so humble in the shadow of my senior, and then suddenly they just couldn't see anything good at that time. And like he put it, the definition about our leadership is, are you wearing a trouser or a skirt? That's where the problem begins, not what I have in my upstairs. So if we had people who are well cultured, also leading the cause of making other people understand that, look here, we need each other. We should work as a team. It's not about women replacing men. And it's not about men getting threatened if a woman is in the lead. Because I also realized when I was talking to many people who came to my rescue, some CEOs, I love the lady from Nakuru, Senator Tabitha. She was telling me sometimes when she would elevate some women, some men would really feel bad and they would come to try and bring down that woman. Or they would choreograph things in a way that the woman is just carrying the title. But whoever is now working or controlling everything is the man. And when things don't work well, they say it's because of that woman. But if things go well, they say it's because we did it. So it's a tall order. In Parliament, there are so many things that happen that are not right. And I think if we had committed leaders to purge, to punish consistently, then people would be disciplined to treat each other as equal. Because like you said, even some nominated MCAs or MPs, they are mistreated. They are mistreated. It's like they were offered. They were just helped. They were, you know, I could hear some male MPs saying, "Where will you saidiwa hiyo kiti?" So it's like every time they have been reminded that they were helped. It is not really help. I just have a dream that one day, this 2/3 gender rule, it will not be there. But it will be 50-50, and nobody will be begging either side, because it can go either the men one time saying, "Oh, we need men to be included," or as today, it's the women who are begging to be included. But I just hope that one day it will be 50-50. I want to give a good example where daddy goes to buy presents for the two children, a boy and a girl. Daddy gives the girl a doll and gives the boy a vehicle, meaning the boy is being groomed to be an engineer, to own the vehicle. But the girl is being groomed to think on how to take care of the children, the doll. It is wrong. It's better buy both the vehicles and buy both, even the boys, the dolls. I can see a few boys who are raised by good civilized parents who don't mind even cooking, who don't mind even washing. They don't mind participating. They don't mind asking their wives, "You rest today. I'm the one in charge in the kitchen." And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you find those badly cultured ones finding their son cooking for the wife in the kitchen, oh my God, it will be fire.
The stereotypes is something else. But you'll be telling us, when I come back to you, be telling us whether you believe Parliament should be disbanded, just like the Chief Justice Emeritus David Kenani Maraga advised. But Quinta, what Mheshimiwa is talking about is really resonating, because we hear hii kiti ulisaidiwa, and we know hiyo kusaidiwa has so many connotations. It's not only in Parliament or the Senate. It's also happening in newsrooms. You've worked in a number of newsrooms. You've also been a corporate leader. These are some of the things that are really pulling down, the stereotypes are pulling down women leadership in Kenya.
Yes, agreed. And even before I get to your question, Mheshimiwa has said so many things. I feel like we just need to react to some of them before I can respond to tokenism, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah.
If you look at the smallest unit of the society, I believe that is a family.
Yep.
Do you know who leads most families, most households?
Yes, it's the mother.
It's the mother, isn't it?
Yes.
And most homesteads are stable because of the fact that the woman is fully present in terms of just ensuring that systems are not collapsing. Ben, if you traveled today, or now in this case you're representing the community of men, if you traveled today and we're assuming that you are probably in a relationship or you're married and you have children and your spouse traveled for about 2 weeks or a month, in that homestead, I can guarantee you that systems will break down, because people will not know where the children's homework is, where the pencil is, where the socks is, where the shirt is. And so it is a total crisis when the head of the homestead, you know, just steps aside. And so just to reiterate what Mwesh was saying, is that women have the capability to lead. They are born leaders, they're natural leaders. And when it comes to leadership and influence, you know, most people think that you probably need an office. The office is structured. It gives you the the clout, you know, to call the shots and to influence policies and come up with the laws. But leadership actually does not need an office. That is why, for me, I believe that women in this country, despite being the majority in terms of population, have been discriminated for a very long time based on the fact that they are women, nothing else. In fact, when you are a leader, I remember AMWIK did a research in 2024 on tech-facilitated gender-based violence on women with public prominent lives. Majority of them were bullied online just because they were women, okay? The research revealed that about 60% of women will undergo some form of tech-facilitated gender-based violence, just for being a woman. That is already a risk factor. Now, when it comes to the work ethics and the work culture in most of the corporate space, I'll take you back to the Reykjavik Performance Index survey that put Kenya at, is it 56%?
56, yes.
And it also showed that about 75% of Kenyans do not have a problem. They're very comfortable with women with a woman as a president in this country, according to that perception index.
Yep.
At the same time, they say that about 85% of them are very comfortable with a woman being a CEO of an organization. And I'll come back to what Brian said, that I look forward to a scenario where you will invite us back into this panel after elections, because I want us to check the results of that finding against the results of election, because I want to see, because if Kenyans, 75% of Kenyans are comfortable with a woman president, then the least we should have is a woman president in this country, because 75 is about 8 out of 10. Then we should have a woman president in this country. But women face a lot of challenges. Many people believe that women, they rise up the career ladder using other alternative ways, not because of the fact that they are qualified for the position. I beg to differ, because we do not have a deficit of qualified women in the corporate world. It is the structures and the spaces that are not favorable for them to grow. If I can speak for the media industry, for example, we are talking about, like I said, in terms of media ownership, it is 2%. When it comes to women experts, we are talking about 10%. So that means that only 10% will, the media will only approach 10% of women experts when they are telling their stories. So that means 90% are already sidelined. When it comes to women heard of, spoken about or written about, we're talking about 24%. So for me, I feel like, one, it is a problem of unconscious bias from our society, crippling into our newsroom and crippling into our corporate spaces, where we somehow believe that women are not capable of taking up leadership positions. Secondly, it is a question of, even though the woman has qualified to take up this responsibility, are the platforms, are the opportunities, are we creating structures that are going to elevate her from step 1 to step 2, or are we going to create platforms that are going to pull them down? And media is a culprit, because media shapes perception, media mirrors society. This is the same media that tends to portray women in a way that tends to reveal that they do not qualify to take up certain positions. We have so many poorly behaved male leaders in this country, but the media will not give them zero attention. Wait until an incident happened to a woman politician, and all of a sudden they start making headlines. Women only make it to the newsroom headlines. 1, there is bad news. 2, there is femicide. 3, there is something that has happened to their character or to their families, and now we are focusing on their marital status. We are focusing on the fact that they cannot get children. We are focusing on anything else but
anything sexist.
Anything sexist, but not what is above the neck. Because above the neck, we are talking about policies, you're talking about brains. But anything below the belt is fodder for media. Media will have a field day exploring the scandals that women are facing, how they are vulnerable. That is where media tends to focus. So media, we can work together. I am from Association of Media Women in Kenya, and one of the things that we actually push for is gender transformative reporting, not just gender sensitive, gender transformative reporting, something that is able to bring results. How are we able to choose our language? How do we choose our images? How do we represent leaders? For example, if Mheshia is coming to the show, do we call her Mrs. her husband? Or do we call her Miss, Catherine, because she's qualified? If Quinta is coming to the KBC news check, then you're going to, of course, go and do a background check. Is she married? Does she have children? I keep asking myself, is it really relevant? It's not relevant. So in terms of the corporate space, we do not have a deficit of leadership. And two, let us create spaces for women to thrive. Let's not pull them down.
Wakili, I totally concur with what Sekjan Omanyo has said, and what Quint has talked about. I think we are condoning this. We are condoning the abuse, because I'll give you a practical example. Mheshimiwa here will bear me witness that there was an MP who, in so many social media we had, hana watoto, she's not married. We are going, just like Quinta has said, we're going below the neck. You see, she has said that indeed she has had the worst backlash of her life after being, elevated. Maybe many people would have, commended that now we have the first Sekjen who is a woman of a leading party in the country. Are the laws in the country, or is it that we are relaxed as a country and we have condoned this?
I think the laws in the country are quite adequate, because I think sometimes in Kenya we legislate because the laws in the country are quite adequate. What the problem we have is just bad manners. It's simply that. So, for instance, you find, Mheshimiwa here, if me and her go for a rally in, let me say, anywhere in Nairobi, I don't want to mention a place, you find that she has to worry about being sexually harassed. I don't have to worry about that. You see? I mean, she can't just pass through a crowd, she'll get touched. Those are the kind of things she has to worry about. I don't have to worry about that. You find that if me and her are bad-mannered, hers is more highlighted. We can be smoking, those things people smoke, hers will be highlighted. I mean, she's bad, she's like this. And mine will be kind of more celebrated. You're a man, you're supposed to be like this. If I have like 3 or 4 different women, that's normal. She can't have the same scandal. So the standard of even judging
Actually,
people,
it's a crime if she's not married.
In fact, it's a crime if she's not married. And any scandal that she has, be it so little, even something so minute, that is what is highlighted. That is what the media picks. That is what is, trending on social media. If I do the same thing, it doesn't, it's not news. He's a man, he can get away with that. So you find these biases are the ones that actually even, for instance, right now, if my sister tells me she wants to go for an elected position, I actually worry about her security. Is she going to be okay? Who is she going to meet? And all these issues that actually men don't face. So even if you're talking about the 23% who are in parliament, it's because of some of these issues. They have to worry about so many other things as opposed to what a man has to worry about. So, as a country, what we need to move away from is this misogynistic sort of behavior, where you believe that women are kind of second-class human beings, where you don't judge somebody by the contents of their brain, rather than you judge them by what they wear. And I think the MP you're referring to is the MP for Suba North, I think, Millie Odhiambo.
Yes.
Millie Odhiambo is a brilliant advocate. She's a brilliant mind. But of course, what do you reduce her to? You reduce her to no children. Do you have a husband? Now she actually has to not parade her husband in public for you now to stop this. But now if somebody like me, if I'm not married, that's not news. It's normal. You not ask these male MPs, where is your wife? Do you have children? If you don't have children, can you explain why you don't have children? So, if you can't lead a family, then it means you can't lead the society. So these biases that women face, ideally, as a country, for us to move forward and for us to even have more than even 2/3 of women in leadership, we need to move away from this culture. It's ideally just bad manners. I wouldn't say it's a problem of inadequate laws. So, for instance, if I was to go to the president, why does his cabinet not reflect this? Why does his appointment not reflect this? Even his something which is just beyond, within his control, his advisors. If I was him, I would have 80% women. Because I mean, if you're looking for legal advisors, the women who are there. Economic advisors, the women who are overqualified. If you're looking for, media personalities, there are women like Quinta who are more than qualified to do this work. So why don't we have this? It's just bad manners. We just have misogynistic men in leadership who pretend for the sake of women. I'll come and tell Mheshimiwa and Quinta here, if elected, 60% of you will be in my cabinet. But immediately vote, because I know majority of you are the ones, you are majority, because you're a majority. As Mheshimiwa said, you are 52%. Yes. I'll come and give you all this, pomp and color. If you vote me in, I'll give you this. But the moment I get elected, of course, I go back to my misogynistic tendencies. I look for you. I look for a few male friends. Then I put 2 or 3 women there just to reflect that I like women. But ideally, I mean, that's just nonsense, to say the least.
Mheshimiwa, how do you increase your numbers in Parliament? Because I thought after that advisory, which was before the 2022 election, by CJ Maraga in regards to the 2/3 gender rule, we could have done better in 2022 elections. Other than that, even in ODM leadership itself, we don't have so many leaders who happen to be women. Are we changing that?
We are changing. Remember, even before Baba left us, he was pushing for more women. Look at Homa Bay. We have Dr. Lillian Gogo, we have Dr. Ivo Buru, we have our Gladys Wanga, Mili. Leaders must be intentional, deliberate, that we should not be waiting for the Constitution to remind us that we should at least have 2/3 gender rule, looked into. Like I talked before, the barriers, the violence. I have run many times when I'm campaigning. There's a time at Our Lady of Mercy in Busia when I was just going to speak, and sometimes God gives me some nice words and people love my speeches. So what they did is to avoid giving me any space to give speeches. So what I noticed was some youth who are sent to start scuffling, people pushing. I didn't know how it goes, but before I knew it, people started fighting in front of me. So I had to run away. No girl would want to witness that and still come and say, I want to be an MP. The field is so unlevelized. It is so unfair, because no woman sits down to plan for violence. And I think the male side that fears any woman to be in leadership, they know this. So they plan violence and it scares away. So even if we wanted more numbers, is the field leveled for all of them? It is very scary. Another thing is resources. Since times of our grandmothers, women waited for men to bring home. But today, I'm seeing the girl of today is busy also creating their own wealth, which is a good sign. It will take time, but we are no longer sleeping. You know, we've reached the end of the rope, and we want to do things our way. I'll give you my own example. When my father died, I was a teenager. My mom was literally beaten. They took the title deeds. I don't want to say who did, but I witnessed it. But that taught me something. I started saying, when I grow up, I will buy my own land that reads my name. In case my man leaves me or dies, I have something in my name. That is how Catherine started coming up at 14 years. Many women today, when they buy anything, they will make sure if it is with the husband, then their names are on it. But it never used to bother anybody if the title deed had their husband's name. But the culture, the bad practices, traditions have woken up many women. And I love it that most of the women are going to school. There were days when it was not so important. You would see when a man sells a cow and he has a boy and a girl in the village, they will pay school fees for the boy. And they say the woman, the husband will take care of her. But I'm seeing things are changing. All women are going to school. That is the card that will help us in future to increase the numbers of women. We will not be begging or looking to be added or topped up. Like now Maraga had said, they top up number of women. It was seen as a baggage. So unfortunate. Somebody sat somewhere and on television said, hey, this country is already bleeding. The economy is bad. Adding more women to just go with this two-third gender rule thing, it will be a baggage for the country. How can we be a baggage, yet we bring a lot on the table for the country again? We're not a baggage.
Yeah, but look at this, Mheshimiwa. I'm looking at the leaders, the elected leaders that we have in parliament. You guys, the women there are not picking the slots. By this, I'm talking about the committees, the very powerful committees. We can't see women in the very powerful committees.
The play,
it's like more or less like competition.
It is a game. And like I said, there's fear of change. It seems
like you're competing against yourselves.
There's fear of change and fear of mwanamuke kunikalia. It's still in. You know, it's just the way people were cultured. It's still in even somebody's called Dr. So-and-so, or Engineer so-and-so, or Professor so-and-so. But when it comes to voting, they all go back to this thing of mwanamuke kunikalia.
But that means, Mheshimiwa, then there's nothing that can change in parliament.
No, there's something. Because I'm very privileged to be sitting among some men and women. And when we talk, our voices are no longer optional. Our voices are necessary. Because we have people like Honorable Junet and all that. I heard one time he said, Catherine must speak. Because somebody was saying, we don't have time, we should just have 1 or 2 speakers. And he deliberately put my name. So they had to add an extra speaker. If we have leaders like those, then women will not be seen as people who fill the gaps, or if it's a room, they fill the seats that were empty. Or we are just like you can put a flower on the wall. We want men who deliberately see something, a potential in all women, regardless. Yes.
And are we hoping the same thing, because we can see that also in parliament, the men are muscling the women out. And are we seeing the same thing in ODM?
No, ODM, Baba set the pace. Baba was a feminist. And anytime we start having these slots, you will see women have been encouraged. We have a nominated MP who is chairing one of the committees. She's my friend, Renee Mayaka. She is. And we have a woman who Baba himself was calling people, telling them, give this lady to chair a special funds committee. She's called Honorable Fatuma Mohammed. And you know, if you are truly Baba's child, you will continue going the way he used to. You say women must be on the table, and you deliberately do it. The other day, somebody didn't want me to be an SG. Somebody wanted me to be dropped. And Gladys Wanga, our party leader, many men in ODM said, no, Catherine is the SG. We do not want to hear of other names being floated. Float them, but wait until the right time when we have elections, then you can try your luck. But for now, the person we know is Catherine. So we have some deliberate steps that are happening that are positive.
All right, you'll be telling us, because ODM has been there for 20 years, but to be very honest, it doesn't have the two-third gender rule. 20 years
it's progressive.
After that. Progressive, okay. You'll be telling us about that. But Quinta, listening to what Mheshimiwa has talked about and looking at the women themselves, are you really putting yourself out there to ensure that, because you are the majority, if you go to even the voters, women are the majority voters, and are you really seizing these opportunities as opposed to waiting for affirmative actions like nominated seats?
Yeah, I think women are rising up to the occasion. In fact, if you look at the history of the women who are elected in this country, right from the time of we attained independence in 1963.
Yes.
up to the last elections in 2022, the numbers have been growing. Although slow, not really at the pace that we want, but the numbers have been increasing. And perhaps just a bit of correction, we did a research called 15 years when we were evaluating the participation of women in political leadership in Kenya against the 2/3 gender principle. We're doing a comparative analysis of what is happening in the region with Uganda, with Rwanda, Ethiopia, Tanzania. Even though Kenya still is trailing from behind, according to our report, we are looking at 23.9% in terms of women's political participation. Some things emerged. One is that when we have more numbers, then we raise the chances of having more women elected. So the strategy for us that we're pushing from AMWIK is we are capacitating women leaders, women politicians to come up. We actually did a profile of the 7 female governors. I know they were subject of fodder and criticism, but we were focusing on their strengths and how they've been able to govern their counties and the success stories. And from that, we are actually pushing for those numbers to move from 7 governors to 24 governors. We are hoping that with the support of the SG here and of course many other leaders in top leadership positions in the political parties, we can elevate those numbers. So in terms of the registered voters, women are still less. So we are majority in population, but registered voters, we are less than the men, and therefore we are urging women to come up. Kama hauko kadi, please, this is your moment. Let us register, let us make sure that we are able to be present at the decision-making table. Secondly, there's something that Mheshimiwa mentioned, and that is allyship. We are not enemies with men, okay? And that is something that we are pushing for. Because currently the people who are calling the shots are the men in leadership. We want to send a strong message that we are not fighting you. We are actually seeking your partnership. Let's work together. Let's uplift and amplify women who deserve, and I'm very particular about that, women who deserve to be leaders, because we also don't believe in tokenism. Even if women are seeking for affirmative action seats, they need to be qualified for those positions so that when they go out there, they are perfect ambassadors for the women constituency and community in this country. The beauty about us at AMWIK is that we do not have a political party. We belong in the women's political party in this country. We are pushing for numbers to ensure that we can have as many leaders in political positions, as many leaders as senators, as governors, as MCAs, as members of parliament, as senators, nominated senators and whatnot. So the strategy is numbers. If you're out there and you have that urge to be a leader, please listen to that small inner voice and just step up, because we need those numbers. When the numbers are high of women who present themselves for the political bids, the numbers of elected leaders go up. Our report is available on our website and you can see. So the strategy is, one strategy we figured out is numbers. Secondly is just the goodwill of society, because we believe that with the collaboration of political institutions and stakeholders such as IEBC, ORPP, political parties, and I'm glad we have the Secretary General here. We are very deep into the conversation of pushing for the 2/3 gender principle from the party level, because we believe that is also another strategy that we can use. And finally, Ben, is the issue of the youthful generation and the youthful vote. In fact, if you look at the study that was released, the perception index, and you look at the people who believed, majority of the people who believed in women being in leadership, they were aged between 18 and 35. So that gives a lot of hope. I am glad that I'm privileged to parent youthful generation in my household, and I can see how progressive they are. They have no gender barriers. They basically just, they're very open-minded. The ladies are very outspoken. The men are also very open-minded. You will find them in the kitchen. They do not have a problem, and therefore it is upon us as a country to capitalize on not really this institution, this community of young people. They do not have all these gender stereotypes that perhaps the older generation have. So it's so easy to convert them. But at the same time, we are reaching out to the older generation to give women who are qualified a chance to serve this nation. They will see a difference.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Wakili, we are running out of time, but I'm looking at some of the things that have been talked about here in terms of seeking leadership. But at the end of the day, even if the women are the majority and they become the largest voting bloc, unfortunately, they still vote for men. How are we going to be achieving numbers, not only in the political sphere, but also in corporates?
Yes. So, I think...
And also have they are benefiting from the affirmative action, despite the fact that they can vote their own in.
Yes. So, I think, most people normally have this notion that women, the majority, but they don't vote for themselves. But if you look at it, if you find a misogynistic society where men are raised to be... men are raised to be in a certain way. You believe that a woman belongs to in the kitchen. Then you see that ideally even changes the perception of women as they grow up. They believe that certain positions are only meant for men. Only a man can be a president. Only a man can be a CEO. But that's not ideally the truth. So that perception has to change, not only among women, even among men, because I believe we should be allies in this fight. And then the other issue, you see, as the SG here, she holds a powerful position. We find even the CJ holds a powerful position, so does the AG. But I find it's like having lionesses leading at the top, but surrounded by hyenas, So because below here, you find 90% is men. No, these are facts, So as much as we're celebrating the SG, what is happening below here? Ideally, in my opinion, even our deputy should be a female, you see. So even the people surrounding her should be at least reflect 50%, 50 to 50%. Not her leading here as a lioness, but below here, we have, hyenas who are ready to go at her at any point, you see. Those are issues as women, even as we move forward, we need to look at. Not just taking leadership positions, but below here, you have scavengers waiting for you.
Mheshimiwa, and apologies, the conversation has also dug into politics, but we're looking at leadership in politics and also in corporate.
You brought the right people.
But we really had to ask this because 20 years down the line, ODM has been one of the most majestic party in the country and most stable party in the country. And despite the fact that it has been there for more than 20 years, the role of women and the space of women has not increased, has been quite diminished, even looking at the leadership itself. What exactly are you doing to ensure that we have more voices and also they are given their space as we wrap up?
My party, ODM, stopped treating women leadership as a favor. I could hear when Baba is talking, he came out of that and he started looking at women leadership as strategy. If you don't start, at least today, in 20 or 40 years, you will not have achieved anything. So it's progressive. You could see there were times when just one woman is the only one in the midst when male maybe are speaking or giving speeches. But nowadays we have even 10 of us, also grappling to stand in front there and be seen, So that thing that Baba started, I have even seen in our constitution, they have deliberately put in something intentionally to make sure that women are everywhere. You'll see most of the vices, unfortunately, are women. But I want it to also change. If the boss is a man, the next one should be a woman. And if the boss is a woman, the next one should be a man. That way, we'll get used to seeing each other as equals. Yeah, but we still, like you've said, we are still far because you find out of 10, we have 3 women. So we need 5 women, 5, yes. And among the 10, if 3 women are adults above 35, others should be younger, so that we bring along the youth with us. Yeah, with time, when they sit on a table where there is some equal measures being practiced over and over, they'll get used to it. And it will reach a time when even the men themselves are saying, where are the women? Not like today, where men says women are too much. And let me use a very simple example. There was a time we were taking photos, and men realized that they were just alone in front. So I had one of them saying, we need a woman here. A woman, that's what he said. So one of the ladies actually went to be part of the almost 20. Why should it be symbolic? I'm bleeding. When I hear somebody saying we need a woman, it is like symbolic representation. Yes. Right. So our minds should be reset. Okay. The mindset is wrong on how we also plan to include women. All right. It's symbolic.
Unfortunately, because we've run out of time, allow me just to ask this for the sake of Kenyans. Are you ready to make peace with the ODM Sifuna faction, or they can go their way and you can be left with the other orange?
I gave an olive branch. I pleaded with all of them and made sure that they are invited.
They were invited?
Yes, they were invited, and I witnessed. Their numbers I have as well. When they were sending the message, I was there. They received. Every delegate, you know, being a senator or an MP, you are already a delegate. So all of them were invited. Nobody was left behind. Even with our NEC meetings, they always invite him. But he chooses to be absent. Okay. So I dream that one day they'll wake up and say, we have been wrong. Let us go back home. Like a prodigal son.
All right, and I really would love to have a conversation, a deeper conversation in regards to also the future of Kenya and the future of ODM as well, because Kenyans are really watching. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we have run out of time. This is a conversation I really enjoy. I was also bred where we are only boys, but we really had to be girls in our own right. But that's a very interesting conversation that we just had, women leadership in politics and corporate. And in studio, unfortunately, Honorable Jane Kagiri was not able to be here with us, but we have Honorable Kathleen Omanyo, the Secretary of ODM, and also the Busia County Women Representative. We also have Quinta, who is from the Association of Women Media in Kenya, that is AMWIK. That's a very progressive and a very progressive association, if you ask me, bringing together all the women in media. And just next to her, we have Brian Olang, who is an advocate of the High Court and also a human rights lawyer. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you indeed for watching. On the second hour, we are looking at what we put in our mouths and what we put in our stomach, where we'll be looking at making healthier food choices. Do you actually know, we have already wrapped up, peeled off the wrappers, and they tell you the ingredients that are in whatever you're taking, consuming, whether it's a drink or something that you're eating that is processed. How safe is it? That conversation after this break.